this is Tata, and welcome to our Wrestling Time Post Show. It is Monday, December 11, 2023, and tonight I will be talking about Monday Night Raw. All right, we need to talk about tonight's Raw because the moment finally happened. Since CM Punk came back to the WWE, we were all wondering when he and Seth Rollins are going to have their confrontation, and it finally happened tonight. So you guys know last week on Raw, CM Punk cut a promo, then he went to SmackDown. He was basically making his rounds. He was even on NXT Deadline. You guys know I don't watch NXT, but I know that he did show up on Deadline. He had a whole segment with Shawn Michaels while wearing a Bret Hart sweater nonetheless. Take my money. I can't freaking wait for it. CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. Same here. That's going to be a really good main event. Night 1 WrestleMania. I'm kind of tempted to go to WrestleMania in Philly. I know I did WrestleMania this year, but if that happens and they got Cody versus Reigns too, I'm very tempted to go. All right, but let's get into this promo. So he was basically talking about the decision he had to make, and he talked about his history in Cleveland, in that specific arena. He talked about how he debuted in that arena. Not a lot of people know that he embraces being uncomfortable. He learned to love it. Basically, he talked about the time where Randy Orton kicked him in the head backstage, and he was stripped of the title. But he's focused on the now and the future, and he had to make the hard decision of his life. Now, he talks about how the fans were really disappointed in him when he walked out back in 2014. He makes mention of Indi Hartwell backstage, and he actually apologizes to everybody he disappointed back in 2014. Yeah, looking back, I think I was a little, not necessarily disappointed, but I was just surprised, and I was shocked that he did walk out. And I never thought I'd live to see the day of CM Punk being back in the WWE. That's for sure. He talks about Nick Aldis offers and HBK's offers, and he says that Adam Pearce's offer was head and shoulders above the rest. He doesn't get into details really as to what Adam Pearce's offer was, but he kind of mentions how HBK offered to mentor, the NXT kids. That's the same venue he walked out in. Oh yeah, it is. And he even makes note of that. He said Punk walked out and walked back in after almost 10 years. So he chooses Monday Night Raw, and he says he's home. It's not the first time he said that. He said that last week too. And then the unthinkable finally happens. Seth's music hits and people start singing. And, he comes down, and then they have this moment where it's literally a whole minute where they're just staring at each other and they're just looking at each other. I swear, if that WrestleMania sign would have been there, they probably would have looked at each other and then slowly looked at the WrestleMania sign, like Triple H and Undertaker did back in 2011, I think. So, of course, Rollins takes offense to Punk calling WWE his home, and he makes note that let me see, crowd was 50-50. Yeah, they were 50-50. He makes note about how Punk abandoned the WWE 10 years ago, and he's been trying to tear it down. He's been slandering him and everybody in that locker room. You guys remember, CM Punk has said some nasty stuff about the WWE and about Triple H and about the company. So Seth Rollins was not wrong to say that. He says that this is not Punk's home, it's his home. And that everybody in the back are his brothers and his sisters, the crowd, people watching at home. That's his family. He's going to do everything in his power to protect it from people like Punk. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I got Hangman Adam Page vibes from this promo. I know a lot of people on Twitter were accusing Seth Rollins of plagiarizing Hangman's promo with Punk. I did get those vibes, especially how he mentions he's going to protect the WWE from CM Punk. That kind of reminds me of what Hangman told Punk, that he was going to protect AEW from him. So I could kind of see the similarities here. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think Seth Rollins plagiarized Hangman's promo? What do you guys think? Now, Seth Rollins in this promo makes it very clear that he hates CM Punk. And that's no lie. I don't think that was Seth Rollins. I kind of think that was Kobe Lopez. And he also makes note of the fact that if he is going to be a part of the WWE, he's happy that he's on Raw. Well, not that he's happy, but that he wants him to be a part of Raw because he knows this is Punk's last chance. As we all know, like this basically is CM Punk's last chance. And he says that he will either expose himself and self-destruct like he always does, or if by chance Punk had changed his ways, he has any gas left in the out tank, maybe one day he will be lucky enough to stand across from Seth Rollins in a world title match. So Seth basically calls CM Punk a fraud here and says he will wrestle circles around him and let Punk know truly what it means to be the best in the world. Now, Punk makes note that he's never asked for anything, and he finally reveals that he's entering the Royal Rumble, and if he wins, maybe he comes after Seth Rollins. Now, I looked it up, and Punk's last Rumble match was on January 26, 2014. This year's Rumble takes place on January 27th, 2024, 10 years to the day after CM Punk walked out. There is no way CM Punk is not winning that Royal Rumble match. I hate to break the news to Cody Rhodes, but I don't think he's winning that match, that Royal Rumble match. Now, it's interesting. How do we get it? Is it going to be Cody and Punk in the final two? Now, they're both trying to finish their stories. Cody is obviously trying to get back to WrestleMania and face Roman Reigns for that undisputed title, while CM Punk is trying to main event WrestleMania. So it's going to be really interesting. I honestly think CM Punk should win the Royal Rumble and then have Cody Rhodes go on to the Elimination Chamber and win that. Last two in the Rumble will be Punk and Cody for sure. I could see that definitely happening. Everybody keeps saying that. Now, the question is it going to be a decisive win for Punk, or are we going to see a John Cena Batista situation from 2005 where we have a double elimination? Just make sure Kane is not in the Rumble. I hope he's not. But still, I think it's a very interesting thing that might happen with Cody and Punk being the final two. Just imagine they're both going at it. They're looking at that WrestleMania sign. They're both determined to finish the story. And I feel like what the story they're telling Cody Rhodes, it kind of works for him. Like he had another shortcoming, and so his last chance to get to WrestleMania would be to go to SmackDown and enter the Elimination Chamber. So I definitely do think CM Punk is winning. Will CM Punk be the number one entrant? Ooh, that's a good question. Will he be number one? Before CM Punk announced himself for the Royal Rumble, I kind of thought Cody Rhodes would be number one, and then he would run the Rumble and win. But now I'm not so sure. I could see Cody Rhodes being number one, maybe Punk being number two. I feel like Punk might be, and Cody Rhodes be second entrant. Okay, that's a good scenario. That really is. I wouldn't mind that. But I kind of feel like, well, see, here's the thing. Like, are they going to have Punk wrestle before the Rumble? Like, or is the Rumble going to be his first match back? That's the thing. If the Rumble's going to be his first match back, he probably might not even enter at number one. He probably might, enter somewhere towards the end. Would he be number 30? Great Kofi and Punk reunion, by the way, backstage. Yeah, I definitely did enjoy that segment with Kofi Kingston and in CM Punk. All right. So let's get into this. So Monday Night Raw opened up with the Jey Uso promo. Honestly, kind of like the Monday Night opening always starts the same way. It's always the same shtick every single time someone cuts a promo, a match gets set up, or someone opens a promo, someone interrupts, and a match follows. It's basically always used to set up a match or to lead into a match. This is the same shtick every single time. So we find out Jey Uso got yeet back. And he tells people to say yeet if they want Punk to sign with Raw. And basically he's excited about Punk being in the building. Now, of course, McIntyre comes out and he tells Jey to stop kissing ass and to let Punk go to SmackDown. I saw that too. Punk making me crazy, Kobe. I don't do that anymore. Yeah, that was funny. I'll talk about that when I get to that segment. Basically, McIntyre says he knows how the story ends with Punk. And he mentions how Sami Zayn crossed the line when he talked about his family. And he basically apologizes to Sami Zayn, but he does it as a jab to Jey Uso, kind of showing him how he should apologize. And he asked the crowd if they would take revenge on somebody who wronged them. And And then like he tries to mock Jey when you know how Jey goes like that, and Jey fires back by saying McIntyre can dance. So this basically leads into Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre, which is not a bad match. I actually really enjoyed this match. Drew McIntyre is victorious after he hit a claymore to Jey and a thumb to the eye. So he's still out he still had it out for Jey Uso. We had a Shinsuke Nakamura Vignette. I actually really liked that. It looked like I'm not the biggest anime fan. I have watched some anime in the past, so it kind of reminded me of an anime. I actually really dug it. It was about him and Cody Rhodes. We also get a Judgment Day backstage segment, and basically, like Finn Balor is not too happy that him and Rhea can't be there for a week because everything falls apart. And Damian Priest kind of alludes to this by saying that Dom losing sucked. He lost his North American title to Dragon Lee at NXT Deadline. And he also makes a comment of saying people not showing up to Raw sucks. So he was basically upset that that Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley were not at Raw. And he and Rhea kind of get into a spat over being the leader. Rhea says it's a lot easier to say that you're the leader than being the leader. But then, like, she goes on to say she'll make an example out of Maxxine. So obviously, there's tension and Judgment Day. And like I said that the War Games match was going to be the beginning of the end for the Judgment Day, and I kind of see the cracks here. Especially like Dominic already lost his title. Who's next? Finn, and Priest. We get Rhea Ripley and Maxxine Dupri. I'm not sure what the whole point of this match was. I was not a huge fan of this. Like, poor Maxxine, I don't think she's reached that level where she could face, like, Rhea yet. Don't get me wrong, she's come a long way. I just was not a huge fan of this. Like, if you're going to have I guess Rhea is just supposed to send a message that she's still in charge of her division, but still against Maxxine Dupri, like, the only thing I liked is at the end when Rhea Ripley won, like Ivy Nile stepped to her. So I'm sure we're going to build to that at some point. We get Bronson Reed versus Ivar. Big meaty men slapping meat, as Big E would say. This was actually a good match. You know what? My favorite spot in this match was probably the finish of this match. You had you had Bronson Reed superplexing Ivar from the top turnbuckle. That ring shook. I'm so surprised they didn't gimmick that ring and had it break, because they've done that in the past. But that was probably my favorite spot in this whole match. But it was a really good match. Like, Ivar can go, especially for a guy his size. Like, he can go, he can move. I hope that he continues to get a push in singles competition, especially because I don't know how long Eric is going to be out for. They go backstage, and you see CM Punk run into Damian Priest. And basically, Punk asks where Rhea is, and Damian Priest tells Punk that he's the guy that he wants Punk to be the guy that finished the story, and he reminds him he's Senor Money in the Bank. So an interesting scenario here, because let's say Seth Rollins versus CM Punk does main event WrestleMania Night 1, and Punk wins. Does Damian Priest cash in, kind of like Seth Rollins cashed in at WrestleMania 31? Where do we go with that? So that would be a little interesting aspect. Although I think that if Damian Priest cashes in, I don't think it'll be in the middle of the match like Seth Rollins did. It'll probably be at the end. Can you imagine that? Like, Damian Priest cashes in on Punk, and then they have Punk feud with Priest for that title? That's something to talk about. So we get a Judgment Day promo, and basically it's the same shtick with them. They have, their message is that it doesn't matter if they've already been messed with, if you're a new superstar, returning superstar, they've all been put on notice. And like, for some odd reason, R-Truth comes out to the ring, and like, look, like, R-Truth could have been the Sami Zayn to Judgment Day's bloodline, but like, I kind of wasn't a huge fan of it, because it's like, where's this gonna go? But like, basically, Damian Priest attacks R-Truth, and the Creed brothers come to save R-Truth, Because you guys know next week, Finn Balor and Damian Priest are facing the Creed brothers for those tag titles, and everybody keeps warning them to watch out for the Creed brothers and to kind of take them seriously. So in reference to what you guys were talking about, Kofi Kingston, after that, we have Punk run into Drew McIntyre backstage. He says he doesn't care about Punk or Cody's stories. And we find out he gets another opportunity at day 1. So I'm assuming that would be the Monday Night Raw on January 1st. And then Kingston, Chad Gable, and Ricochet approach Punk. And that's when CM Punk tells him, "You're making me crazy." And Kofi says, "I don't do that anymore." I thought that was hilarious. Good segment. We get Katana Chance and Kayden Carter versus Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell. This wasn't a bad match. Katana Chance and Kayden Carter are on a roll. They seem to be undefeated. And next week, they're going to challenge for those tag titles. Now, I'm 50-50. Part of me wants them to win, but the other part of me wants Chelsea Green and Piper Niven to retain here just because I do like Chelsea Green. But if they win, I feel like they will probably lose the titles to the Kabuki Warriors. I still think the Kabuki Warriors should be the ones to take the titles off Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Yes, I know it will be heel versus heel, but who cares? They should be the ones to take the titles off and have, all of them be champions. Right the wrong of the past Damage Control. Who Michael Cole can stand more, Bayley or Chelsea Green? He probably can't stand Bayley more than Chelsea Green. Right the wrongs of the past. Give Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, the tag titles. That way you have Io Sky as women's champion and the Kabuki Warriors as tag team champions, and have them be this badass, dominant faction that they should have been. Right the wrongs and give them the tag titles. But since it's heel versus heel, they're probably not going to do that. And so that's where probably Kayden Carter and Katana Chance come in. Now the women's tag team scene seems to be kind of focused on Raw. We got to, move over to SmackDown sometime so we can get that ball rolling with the Kabuki Warriors. At least that's just me. I want the Kabuki Warriors to be tag team champions. What about you guys? Should the Kabuki Warriors be tag team champions? Right the wrong. Okay. So you get a Becky Lynch promo, and she basically talks about how her and Nia Jax have been linked together since Nia Jax broke her nose. And she makes note of how when she went on to main event WrestleMania, Nia Jax went to get double ACL surgery. She had a child. Nia Jax got fired. She makes mention, let me see. Joshi Wayne Gold, yes. Right? Thank you for agreeing with me. See, someone agrees with me. She says that Nia Jax's knees gave out on her because she was just a bad woman. Nia fires back and says Becky needs to prove that her career wasn't an accident and that she will always be the woman that made the man. And Becky basically says that she came to Cleveland looking for a fight. So they're finally visiting this rivalry after nearly 5 years. You guys remember Nia Jax broke Becky Lynch's nose, and it led to that iconic photo of Becky standing in the crowd with blood on her face. And yeah, she's right. Her career basically skyrocketed after that. I'm not sure how I feel about a Becky Lynch Nia Jax feud. I mean, if done correctly, I guess it could be interesting, but you're gonna have to do a lot to actually make me care. Nothing against Becky, it's just Nia. And I'm pretty sure Becky's gonna hand Nia her first loss since coming back. Now the question is, does this take place at the Royal Rumble on a random episode of Raw? Because Becky Lynch going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble? I don't think Becky Lynch needs to be in the Women's Royal Rumble. I think that if she is in the Rumble, I don't think she needs the victory. Give it to somebody else. Maybe a debuting Jade Cargill could win. But what do you guys think here? Does this match happen at Royal Rumble or does it happen before Royal Rumble on a random episode of Raw? We'll see. So in Cody Rhodes' interview, he basically alludes, again, you can't finish 2 stories at once, talking about his story and Punk's story. So again, final 2 Do we have a double elimination, a decisive win for Punk? How do we do this here? What I do know is that Cody Rhodes is probably not going to win the Royal Rumble, and somehow, some way, he's going to go to SmackDown, enter the Elimination Chamber, and that's how he gets back on the road to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. And you know what? Like I said earlier, I'm so tempted to go to Philly and do WrestleMania week again. I did WrestleMania week this year. It was the most fun I've ever had. But damn, I'm so tempted. Would it be there for Punk's first WrestleMania in the WWE? Well, his first WrestleMania back. We get DIY and The Miz versus Imperium. This wasn't a bad match. And now, of course, it was The Miz, especially. It makes sense when you think about it because The Miz and Ciampa had a feud. They even had a storyline together. Johnny Gargano is from Cleveland. The Miz is from Cleveland. Not to mention, The Miz has had issues with Gunther and Imperium. So, makes sense that he was in this match. My favorite spot in this match probably has to be when The Miz and Johnny Gargano did the double DDTs to Kaiser and Vinci. I also like the spot where The Miz did the Dragon Screw and then the figure 4 to Gunther. And then Gargano had the Gargano escape on Kaiser. Now, DIY and The Miz are victorious after The Miz hits a skull-crushing finale to Vinci. So, Gunther probably was not happy with Imperium here. And so when they go backstage, The Miz confronts Gunther. And Gunther gives him another rematch on the condition that if Gunther beats The Miz, he can never challenge for the IC title as long as he is champion. So, there you have it. I don't think The Miz is going to win. Honestly, don't. What do you guys think? Should The Miz win? Or should Chad Gable still be the one to defeat Gunther? So the main event is Cody Rhodes versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, this was not a bad match, but I was really worried for Nakamura because, with the rumors of Okada leaving New Japan and the rumors going around that WWE is interested in signing Okada, how are you going to entice him to sign of the way you're booking your Joshi stars here? So I was really worried for Nakamura because I thought for sure he was going to lose this match. But this match actually ends in a DQ after Nakamura misted Cody Rhodes. And then the Creed brothers come out and protect Cody from Nakamura. But as Cody's being helped up the ramp, Nakamura attacks him. So I guess in a way it makes sense because they didn't want Cody Rhodes to get pinned before the Royal Rumble. In the road to the Royal Rumble, but at the same time, it's like you didn't want Nakamura to lose this. So, how does this end? It probably is going to end on maybe day 1, Cody Rhodes versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I honestly feel like Cody Rhodes is probably going to beat Nakamura, or if you want to add adversity to Cody Rhodes, you have Cody Rhodes lose to Shinsuke Nakamura. But the Creed brothers were all over this show too. They helped Cody, they helped R-Truth earlier. They're definitely trying to just put them out there. That's for sure. I don't see how Cody would do different from what Nakamura and Asuka does. Exactly. So I don't know how they're going to entice Okada to sign. Cody getting whipped by everybody. Yeah, he definitely is. They're really trying to give him adversity on the road back to WrestleMania. But overall, I didn't think Raw was too terrible tonight. There were a few things I didn't like. Wasn't a huge fan of Maxxine versus Rhea Ripley. I did not like that at all. But aside from that, wasn't too terrible. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a pretty decent Raw. But what did you guys think of tonight's show? Did you guys have a favorite segment for your match? On a scale from 1 to a Shawn Spears perfect 10, what would you rate tonight's Raw? Let me know in the live chat or in the comment section down below. But with that being said, that concludes this review. Thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I will see you guys Wednesday after AEW Dynamite. Bye.